Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, my dear class 7. Let's start another creative writing class. Last week we completed unit 5 and 6, and I suggested you to write as many writings possible for you. Please do that. It's for your betterment. Because the creative writing you have written in your first online exam, someone has written very good, really good, but some others couldn't actually reach the mark that we look for in a 7th grader's writing. That takes time, my dear. I told you, all of a sudden or overnight will not master the most creative way of writing. It needs time and practice. So keep on practicing. Today we will start Unit 7, and if it is possible, we will go for Unit 8 as well. Unit 7, Secondary English, Unit 7, page 110. Please open at page 110. Here, in Creative Writing 7, we have film review. Interesting, isn't it? Film review. The film, The Outsiders, is about teenage gang warfare. The two gangs involved are the Greasers and the Sox. Two teenage boys gang. Okay, mostly these type of things takes place in European countries, but in our country also we hear of some teenage boys gang. That's quite unfortunate though. So the movie's name is The Outsiders. The story is based on the novel by S.E. Hinton, from which the comprehension passage with which this unit opened is also taken. So in Unit 7, the opening comprehension passage is also taken from the novel The Outsiders, written by S.E. Hinton. And the same novel was picturized, turned into a movie, which was also titled The Outsider. Here is a film review of The Outsiders. Read through it and then consult the guidelines for writing your own film review. Let's see. The film review is given on page 111. Here. Okay? This is the film review, page 111. Let's take a look. We're not going to just thoroughly read it. We are going to see the writing patterns and the features of a film review. The first thing is, film review has its own title. See how it is titled here? Rich Boys, Poor Boys, and a Tragic Conflict. This is the title of the film review, not the film. Okay, so film review has an eye-catchy title. Now, some general information about the movie. Title, The Outsiders. So this is the title of the film or the movie, whatever we say. Starring Matt Dillon, Leif Garrett, Rob Lowe. These are the characters who played the main roles, the central roles in the movie. So these are the stars. Though a film has a lot of characters there, isn't it? Just like a novel. But when we see the starring or the cast given, we see that some limited ones are given mostly. And in a film review also, the prominent names will be given, so that the film freaks get encouraged to see that film. Released by Hyatt's Distribution. This one is the distributor company who released the movie, now at Hyatt's Warringah Mall. So that's the movie theater. Rating 8 out of 10. This is the rating of the reviewer who reviewed the film. His or her personal opinion, and not just personal person has to, have a survey, ask people, and then also from different point of view he needs to write the review and then give it a rating out of 10, out of 5, it's possible. Now, let's see what's written here. For those who have been captivated by Susan Hinton's successful novel set in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1965, Francis Ford Coppola's production of The Outsiders will bring to life each of her characters in striking detail. Here, with characters such as Pony Boy Curtis, Cherry Valance, and Soda Pop, Two-Bit Matthews, Dallas Winston, and Brandy Anderson, we are taken to the world of the Beezers and the Sox, a world where it all depends on which side of the tracks you were born and raised on, where animosity is life, and where tragic conflict between these groups is inevitable. See here, the storyline is not given. You are not supposed to give the summary of the story in the review. You're supposed to, analyze it and then what the audience will see here and how they will accept it. 2 pictures are given. That's optional. And then see the last para, which is just one sentence, highly recommended for teenagers. The film reviewer, is recommending this film to the teenagers. He thinks that it has to be seen by the teenagers. See, in the middle, in a small box, is given by Bob Smith. That means Bob Smith is the reviewer. Now let's go to the next page where some guidelines are given. Number 1, note first of all the title of the review. Rich Boys, Poor Boys and Tragic Conflict. This is an eye-catcher. Didn't I tell you? You have to give an eye-catchy title of your film review. The reader's eye is caught by the title and the reader is motivated to read on and see what the article is about. Try to come up with an eye-catching title when you write your film. Number 2, after attracting the reader's attention, the reviewer must provide this potential filmgoer with the name of the film, the main actors, and the theater where the film is currently being screened. It is also essential to give the film's rating. It is talking about that small box right under the title, review title starring, released by, now at rating. This small portion is being explained here. Number 3, next the reviewer points out when he believes to be an important aspect of the film. Bob Smith maintains that the film brings to life in striking details. So the important aspect of the film. As a reviewer, you need to focus to that. Number 4. Here we are taken into the world of the Beezers and the Sox. A world where it all depends on which side of the tracks you were born and raised on, where animosity is life, and where tragic conflict between these groups is inevitable. With these words, the reviewer presents the theme or main idea at the heart of the film. In your review too, try to sum up your film's theme and to evaluate the way it is handled. In the 4th point, you need to give the theme of the film so that the audience read your review and then they can decide it. They see the film, they will try to find some interest in it, and it is also the film reviewer's responsibility to make the review as interesting as possible. Number 5, having presented the theme, the reviewer moves on to give us a tell tantalizing glimpse of the storyline. The delinquent breezes in inevitable conflict with the affluent serfs. It can be little more than a tantalizing glimpse because a review could hardly reveal the climax of the film, or the way it ends, or too many details. This particular part is telling you not to give too many details. If you say everything in the review, people will not go to the theater to see it, isn't it? A film reviewer is supposed to grow some, uh, interest among the audience. Grow some interest, some encouragement should be there, some influence and persuasion. This is also a type of persuasive writing. You too should try to offer an alluring glimpse of the storyline of any film you choose to review. Give an alluring glimpse, just a few glimpses, those has to be alluring. You can, keep in mind about the advertisements, the trailer, the movie trailers, how actually it is shown. It is alluring the people. It is telling the people that see the movie is so damn interesting, it's thrilling, you're gonna enjoy it. And some glimpse of scattered events so that the readers decide, okay, whenever this film is releasing, I'm going to watch it the first day. Theater, I'll be the first person entering. Some people do have that grace. Number 6, the last one. To round off his review, Bob Smith returns to the characters and actors in The Outsiders to comment on the fact that Honey Boy is the main character, to note that underneath the delinquent there's often a hero waiting to come out. Finally, there is his recommendation of the film to a particular group of people, highly recommended for teenagers. To round off your own review satisfactorily, refer in a little more detail to the characters, the theme, or the story. And of course, finish off with your own film audience recommendation. So how you're going to actually end your film review? You're going to recommend particular age level people. You're going to say the theme maybe once again, and then a little more detail about the story, but not all, not even the climax, okay? You are not supposed to say everything in the film review. Now let's see, it is on page 113. Number 1 of film review. Make use of the preceding guidelines. Here, number 1 is telling you to write a film review, any film you want. Okay? I would like to recommend any child movie, any animated movie, but English movies will be also fine, thrillers, horror movies, it's totally up to you. Try to avoid Hindi movies, but if you find it's really good, then you can choose one. But my dear, telling you frankly, in one discussion you write the best successful film review is too much to expect from a 7th grader. But still, if you find it interesting, you can go for it. Number 2, school can be a lonely place. This can be descriptive. This can be a story as well. It can be a beautiful story. Number 3, gang warfare. Based on this story or this movie, you can write, or you can totally write of your own. 4, growing up tough. Growing up, getting matured. It is tough because when you are growing, you have to take a lot of responsibility. As long as you are a child, as long as you are a juvenile, you enjoy life. That is the fact. A lot of you don't know that. You want to grow up. But you grow up, you have responsibility, and that is tough. Number 5, I never thought it would happen. This can be the first line of your story. In fact, my dear, number 2, 3, 4, 5, all these 4 can be stories. It's totally up to you how you plot it. So here, choose as many possible. In fact, I would like to suggest you to write all of them. Take it as a very elaborate practice work. You have to practice writing. I'm going to tell it again and again. No matter it's bugging your ears. Write, do write. You don't have regular classes now, so if you don't take extra care of your writing skill, you will be the one who's losing, not the teacher. Now we'll go to Unit 8. I believe you can see the board. Unit 8, page 128. Please come to page 128. Okay. In Creative Writing 8, we have describing places. It's another interesting term. Now, to describe the places, see 1, 2, 3, 4. Few examples are given how you can start and you can continue. Let's take a look here. Number 1, will I first describe the place from a distance and only then close in and focus on details? This is a question you are asking to yourself. You're not asking to anybody else. How you are going to actually describe a place. First from a distance and then close in and focus on details. This is one way. Number 2, will I describe a particular detail or feature of the place and then widen my viewpoint to present a general impression? Isn't it totally the opposite of number 1? Number 1 is telling to describe the place from a distance and then come close in and focus on the individual details. Number 2 is telling to describe it from any particular detail or feature and then widen the viewpoint to have a general impression. This is also possible. Number 3, will I describe the color, the shape, the smell of things? One of these or several? This is another way you are using all the sensory details. Mostly the sight and the smell. When you describe a place, excuse me, when you describe a place, using sensory details is very, very important. It's the effective way that you can describe it vividly to the readers. So when you describe a place, sight, the sensory detail of sight is really important. You have to use it. Without sight, you cannot, how the place looks. You have to describe that. So sight words come there. And then hear, okay, hear, sensory detail of hear words and smell words. Number 4, will I deal only with the things to be seen in this place? Or will I include the people or animals that could be expected to be found there? See another point of view to describe a place. Only the things will I just focus on, or the people or animals also living there? That's another way. Here can be the rural area, forest, or some mountain places. If you are describing a tribal village, depends on which particular place you are describing. So see 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 ways how you can describe a place. Very creative, isn't it? Now we are gonna read 2 descriptions, one on page 128, another on page 130, just to see how these famous and experienced writers describe, so that when you describe in your writing, you get some guidelines. Here is a description of the Indian holy city of Benares, as seen by the writer Eric Newby, from a boat on the river Ganges. So the writer Eric was on a boat on river Ganges when he observed the holy city of Benares in India. And then he described it. Only that particular portion is picked here. Okay, it's maybe a big piece of writing. Only the portion where Eric described the holy city of Benares is picked here so that we see the writer's techniques. The holy city. Now the sun rose above the mist and from out on the water, the city was revealed as a great golden crescent of temples, spires, mosques, minarets, ashrams, and secular buildings, suspended rather than built high above the river and fading away in either direction into the misty distance. See, this first sentence is quite long, isn't it? With a lot of punctuations, commas mostly used. And this sentence, it is a general view of the city of Benares. General view, and then now the writer will focus on specific details. A light breeze started to blow, and brilliant paper kites began to edge up the sky. Clouds of pigeons wheeled over the temples and palaces of the princes whose splendors had departed. There were so many temples that they were like some monstrous growth of fungi. They grew all the way down the bank, in some places to the writer's edge. All are site-related sensory descriptions. One even stood in the river into which it had sunk, still held upright by its own weight, and leading down to the water were the steps of the 74 ghats, most of them in varying stages of decrepitude, some with their lower steps collapsing into the river where the water and the sewage percolating from above had undermined the clay, the limestone, which constituted their foundations. Steep golden steps which were crowded with men, women and children who had either already bathed or were about to do so. See how beautifully it is described? Sentences are so long. It is not actually encouraged to a 7th grader. Medium length of sentences are fine. But here, see, the writer is quite experienced, so he took the liberty of explaining in the longest sentences in the world, perhaps. And then how well it is described. All of them are in general and then specific at the same time. It's a beautiful piece of work. Now please come to page 130. Page 130. The place described below is the Mediterranean island of Corfu. The season is a magnificent summer. Gerald Darrell tackles the description with gusto. One wonderful summer. So here, it's taken from The Garden of the Gods by Gerald Darrell. Only the small portion where Mediterranean island of Corfu is described. That summer was a particularly rich one. It seemed as if the sun had drawn up a special bounty from the island, for never had we had such an abundance of fruit and flowers. Never had the sea been so warm and filled with fish. Never had so many birds reared their young, or butterflies and other insects hatched and shimmered across the countryside. Watermelons, their flesh as crisp and creamy as pink snow, were formidable botanical cannonballs, which one big enough and heavy enough to obliterate a city. Peaches as orange or pink as a harvest moon loomed huge in the trees, their thick velvety pelts swollen with sweet juice, The green and black figs burst with the pressure of their sap, and in the pink splits, the golden green rose petals sat dashed by the rich, never-ending largesse. Trees had been groaning with the weight of cherries, so that the orchards looked as though some great dragon had been slain among the trees, bespattering the leaves with scarlet and wine-red drops of blood. The maize cobs were as long as your arm as you bit into the canary yellow mosaic of seeds. The white milky juice burst into your mouth, and in the trees, swelling and fattening themselves for autumn, were the jade green almonds and walnuts and olives, smoothly shaped, bright and shining as birds' eggs strung among the leaves. Amazing, isn't it? Here also, the writer took the liberty of writing elongated sentences. You can avoid that. Let me take a look. How many sentences are here actually? I don't see much full stops. 1, 2, 3, 4 sentences only. I would like to suggest you to avoid specifically that. Specifically that one you avoid, and the others you see, just look at the description and the fruits, the butterflies, birds, how beautifully it is described, and all belong to one Mediterranean island. Excellent piece of work. Maybe you won't be able to write such a beautiful masterpiece now, but these are the guidelines, okay? You need to fix it as guidelines so that you can at least attempt to start. Some of you already write quite well descriptions, and for others it's a challenge. Start at least attempting. Let's see the topics given on page 130. Okay, I have 2.5 minutes left. Now, see number 1, Killer Croc. See the picture given as well. Number 2, Journey into the north of Australia. Number 3, the first day brought some unexpected visitors. Number 4, a tough way to make a living. 5, occupations that don't interest me. 6, a day in the life of an alligator. All of them can be stories, except, number 5, that occupations that don't interest me. That is better to be a descriptive writing, where you just list and describe the occupations where these don't interest you and the reason behind why these are not interesting. And except those, if you consider number 2, Journey into the north of Australia, here, my dear, if you choose this topic, you have to have some geographical knowledge about the north of Australia. Otherwise, in a descriptive essay, you cannot make up things. Okay? You cannot put made up features there. There has to be facts here. And the others, number 1, 3. 3 is a very beautiful story beginning. And then number 5 and 6, these are number 4 and 6. These are beautiful story plans. Number 2 descriptive, number 5 descriptive. So from both unit 7 and 8, choose as many topics as possible and then write those within 280 words. Don't write less than that, and practice well and maintain the storyline the way it was described earlier. So that's all for today. Thank you. Allah.